The fighting type is notoriously strong, but with 18 badges and a heap of other bosses to deal with, along with the fact that any misstep could cause us to lose a team member, and we have a hardcore rule set to add even more difficulty, will we be able to beat Pokemon Violet as well as the Teal Mask DLC? Let's find out. First, we're going to be introduced into the starters, and straight away, we're going to grab a duck. A lot easier in this than it is in real life. Unfortunately, it's not a fighting type yet, so we'll travel a little bit further where we can run into another bird, being Flamigo. This will mean that we can now box the Quaxley. However, after this, we have a Nemona battle, and this can be quite scary. Luckily, there is a bit of room for leveling, so we don't have to rely on just being shocked out of here. Fuecoco will manage to survive a double kick, but we'll take it down on the next one. And luckily for us, Hormo has an atrocious defense, so we managed to one-shot it. Good thing, because I don't want a Sparky Bird. We're then given a Terra Orb, but unfortunately, it's banned from use in this run. We can then go on a bit further to South Province Area 2. We run into a Riolu, and even though we do manage to catch it, unfortunately it's level 16, so we can't use it yet. Well, I want to be able to use it, so let's get right on into the Katie battle. Luckily, we do have a flying type, so even though we've got that fighting type that would be resisted, the flying type will be super effective and take down her first two Pokemon. Teddiursa is going to be able to survive a wing attack, and it even gets a critical and 5-hit Fury Swipes on us, but it's not enough to take us down. Therefore, we'll finish it off on the next turn. And with that, we can make our way into Kitakami. And as a very quick introductory, we're going to have to battle Carmine here. Luckily, she starts off with a Poochyena, and its dark type will mean that it's weak to a double kick, so we can take it down. Next up is Vulpix. Now, this thing just survives a double kick, and then it embers and burns me. That sucks. Even though we're taking a bit of chip damage from it, we will still take it down this turn. And then out is going to come her Poltergeist. Now, this thing, because our attack is halved, will actually end up surviving. But an Astonish does nothing to us. Even with bad luck, that was an easy battle. And then straight away, her brother wants some. However, Centric cannot withstand a double kick. Yanma can't withstand a wing attack, meaning that is literally all they wrote. We're then going to hatch an egg, and unfortunately it hatches into a Piplup. Now, normally you could reset, but I forgot to turn autosave off, and that means Chimchar is no longer going to be obtainable in this run. As a small consolation prize, at least we can get an early Heracross here though. But that capture has overleveled our Flamigo, so let's get back to Paldea, where we can get another encounter being Makuhir. And what we've got to do in Paldea is take on Clorf, the Stony Titan. He's going to start off Vice Gripping us, doing pretty good damage as we Force Palm. He will then Rock Smash, but then we can Arm Thrust, and we get a crit on the start, and we actually only need 3 of these to knock it to the red, but we end up getting 4 anyway. Now we've got to focus on raising Riolu's friendship. And with all that done, he is finally ready to evolve. With that, let's get right on into the next battle, being against Brassius. First thing up is Petlil, and it will actually manage to survive an Aerial Ace from our Heracross, allowing it to Mega Drain, but that doesn't do much. Obviously, it will go down on this next turn, though. Smoliv is up next, and it's got similar defenses plus health, so it does the same and uses a tackle, doing a bit more, but not enough. Meaning we can take that down and then go into his Sudowoodo, which is going to terrestrialize into the pure grass type, meaning our Aerial Ace is super effective. His Trailblaze coming in though really isn't going to do too much to us. I then decide to switch to an Arm Thrust to see how much damage it's doing, and we actually do manage to get 5 hits off, so it does about as much as the Aerial Ace does. However, since he's still slower, he uses yet another Trailblaze. Finally, he's faster, so he switches away using a Rock Throw, doing big damage as our Aerial Ace knocks him into the red. Knowing we can't survive another, we're gonna switch out and we're gonna switch into Lucario, who the Rock Throw does nothing to. From there, Sudowoodo will end up using a Trailblaze, critting and doing big damage, but it's not enough, and an Aura Sphere is all we need to finish him off. We can then move on to South Province Area 2, and we will be able to get a Mankey here. And with our team at 5, we will end up taking on what could be one of the hardest battles, being Bombardier. It's going to start off by plucking, doing about half damage to us as we Aura Sphere. Then it decides to throw and just use a rock throw, allowing us to get another one off, which ends up critting, ending the first phase. This will lead us on to the second phase because we don't have time to heal, and this thing rarely attacks on the first turn, so we decide to stay in and we call it right as it torments into Knackley, allowing us to get an Aura Sphere off and Knackley to get a rock throw off. There's no point risking more than we need to, so we'll switch into Flamigo, but it gets tormented anyway, so we could have stayed in. But Knackley will start by using a Smackdown. From there, it is low enough where we can use a Detect, meaning the incoming pluck won't do any damage to us, and Knackley will finish this job off. Honestly, that crit in the first phase did really matter. We might have been in danger had we not got it. Arven then makes us a sandwich with the Bitter Herba Mystica, but it just looks like a turd sandwich. Going a bit further, we will be able to get another encounter, being Tauros. Catching one of these is awesome because Paldean Tauros is actually one of the strongest Pokemon I've ever seen. And with that, we're going to lead into Giacomo. The first thing we're going to do is use an arm thrust, and I equip the loaded die in order to make sure that I'm always hitting a lot with my arm thrusts. Unfortunately though, when his Reverum comes out, it intimidates us, meaning our next one actually doesn't end up doing an awful lot of damage. But it's fine because he just Metal Sounds. This will allow us to switch into Lucario, who isn't going to take much damage, and then 2 Aura Spheres is all we need to finish this battle off. With that, let us get back on to Kitakami, where we can get hold of a Timber, a pretty cool fighting type. We then are going to have another battle with Kieran, but honestly, this guy is so easy. We don't even need to try. Flamigo basically solos his team. We're then introduced to Kieran's grandparents. The grandpa is happy, and the grandma is crazy chill. Wonder what she's been up to. After this, we end up wanting a mask. But unfortunately, Carmine and Kieran only have 2, so Carmine wants to battle us. Morpeko is first up, and it tries to bite us in a desperate attempt, but an arm thrust will finish it off. Then what's going to come out is her mighty Enna, and we aren't actually going to be able to take it down. It will survive in the red, and that will allow it to get a Fire Fang off and do decent damage. Not decent enough though, so we will be taking it down on the next turn. Up next is going to be her Poltergeist, but we still know Aerial Ace, which does awesome damage, and all she can try is Astonish us. Meaning it's really no surprise at all that that goes down. And then lastly is going to be Swadloon. And after the Intimidate from my Iena, even though it's 4 times effective, we don't take it out here. But it wastes its turn by going for a Sticky Web, so all we need to do is use 1 more and we have finished it off. All this fighting about masks and they don't even wear them properly. Now that is a mask. Let's yoink it. With that, we're gonna have another battle against Nemona. And we're going to start off with a double kick, taking down the Rockruff. From there, Pawmi comes out, and that too will also go down to a double kick. But this is going to send out her last Pokemon, Crocodile, which will Terrastallize into pure fighting type. And even though I get a crit on one of them, double kick only does about a third. And unfortunately, her Incinerate does quite a bit to us. Knowing I don't want to stay in and risk anything, we're going to switch into the Tauros to get an Intimidate off, but it just ends up using Yawn. From here, we can Tail Whip, which is going to lower its defenses as it incinerates, knocking us for big damage. Unfortunately, we will go to sleep as well. From here, we can switch into Makuhita because it has the thick fat ability, meaning fire moves don't do quite as much. We can then fake it out doing decent damage and causing it to flinch. From there, it goes for a Yawn, so we can use a Force Palm in an attempt to get a Paralysis. Unfortunately, we don't get it. And since it didn't do too much damage, we can let it use an Incinerate. Why did that do so much more than the first one? Did I literally get the lowest roll followed by the highest roll? Pokemon with thick fat is really helpful for future parts of this run. It really sucks to have lost him here. didn't even get to do that much. I'm sorry, Makuhita. I wish I could have done better for you. At least it wasn't in vain, as we're able to switch into Heracross, who with the loaded die is guaranteed a good amount of hits from an arm thrust, so Crocalor will go down. Unfortunately, we need to carry on and replace our fallen team member, so we'll run into a Shroomish. Although we can catch it, it's level 29, so we can't actually use it for a little bit. And from there, we're going to be led into the Iono battle. We're going to start out with Tauros, and that's because we toy Rock Tomb, which will one-shot the Wattrel. From here, we have her Belly Bolt, and we're going to use a workup to raise our attack as it sparks into us. We can then use a dig against it, but unfortunately, we just missed the roll, and it ends up surviving on a Sliver, allowing it to use another spark against us and paralyzing us this time. From here, it will spark, knocking us low enough to the point where our Margot Berry activates and gives us some health, and luckily our double kick will hit through. Next up, we have Luxio, and it's going to use Intimidate, knocking us back down to neutral attack. Then it's going to spark into us, and unfortunately, we will get fully paralyzed this turn. This means we need to switch out, so we're going to switch into Lucario, who will get hit with a spark, thankfully not get paralyzed, and can retaliate by using a dig next turn to take it out. This will lead us into her final Pokemon, being Miss Magius, which is going to terrestrialize into the electric type. And it starts off straight away by using a Confuse Ray, and unfortunately we are going to hit ourselves in confusion. We're not having great luck this battle. Can't risk staying in because Hex will do major damage with us confused, so we switch into Heracross, who it doesn't do too much to. She will then end up Confuse Raying us, but it's fine because we hit through and can Rock Tomb, lowering her speed. And we actually instantly end up snapping out of it, allowing us to use an arm thrust and knocking her into the yellow. Her retaliating Hex will do decent damage to us though. However, it's fine because all we need to do is use one more arm thrust, and if we get 4 hits, we should take it down, which we do end up doing. And Timber is that excited about the win versus Iono, it actually ends up evolving into a Girder. From there, we can go back to Kikami, and we're actually able to get ourselves a Poliwag, which obviously we're instantly going to evolve into a Poliwhirl. And now, Delibird presents Poliwrath. Got a pretty beefy team for us going into the next Kieran battle. Yanmar will get smacked down with a wing attack straight away. Poliwhirl will manage to survive a double kick, but it just wastes the turn by going for Haze. Meaning all we need to do is use one more and it will go down. Not as good as our Wrath that we've got in the back. Next up is going to be Furret, which will use Takedown against us, doing decent damage, and our double kick won't quite take it out. It then decides if it's going to go down, it might as well lower our attack with a Baby Doll Eyes. And obviously, it's on a Sliver, we finish it off. This leads us into his last Pokemon, being Dipplin, which we're going to wing attack, but we don't actually do too much. And its Dragon Breath does an awesome amount to us and paralyzes us. Well, I'm not staying in at this point. You might as well come out Lucario, and it's going to defense kill. Now, there's really nothing it can do to Lucario, so we just need 2 Aura Spheres, and Dipplin will end up going down. Unfortunately, again, we're getting close to level cap, though, so let us get back into Paldea and take on Mela. Poliwrath is obviously the lead, which is going to rain down straight away, meaning the Flame Wheel won't do anything to us. Next turn, we can use a Liquidation, and Torkoal is actually just going to survive it. This lets it use a Clear Smog, which does decent-ish damage to us, but it sealed its fate, so we take it down next turn. Next up is obviously going to be her Reverum, which straight away is going to Screech into us, lowering our defense. Our Liquidation does some pretty big damage, though. Next turn, she's going to Blazing Talk, but it literally does nothing, and our Liquidation knocks it to the red. So I think you know what happens here. We have won this with a lot of ease. That will then lead us into the auto-on battle, but the little steel bug stands no chance as one aura sphere deals with it. With the level cap at 30, we can add a level onto our Shroomish, finally getting it in the fighting type with Breloom. No point keeping you waiting though, let us get right back on to the battle against Kofu. We're going to start off with our Tauros that can use an assurance doing half damage as we get plucked for minimal. Obviously this is the last turn we need to take this bugger down. Wugtrio then comes out and we can double kick it, which will activate its GUI twice, lowering our speed. But it's fine because the headbutt doesn't flinch us on the next turn, allowing us to take it out. After this, we've got Crabominable. Now, this thing is pretty scary, so we're actually going to switch out into our new team member being Breloom. He's going to terrestrialize into the water type and use a Crab Hammer, but unfortunately for him, it doesn't do much damage. We can then Giga Drain, getting most of the health that he took away from us back as he tries to slam into us, not doing too much. And because he touched us, Effect Spore can go off and it will actually paralyze him. Then we can use a Grass Knot against him, but he holds on a Slither and he gets paralyzed, so it doesn't matter, allowing us to use a Mach Punch to quickly put an end to this. Carmine then tries to get us to do some swimming. However, I can't swim without a Pokemon. Dive doesn't exist in this game. So I decide to start an Earthquake instead, and it brings the Milotic out. Unfortunately, the Milotic doesn't do too much to us, and we actually do pretty major damage by using a Grass Knot. Combined with the bite from Morpeko, it literally takes us 2 turns and this thing goes down. However, Kieran has stole that teal mask from us, so we're gonna have to take him on here and beat him to get it. We start fairly easily with our Flamigo using Wing Attack into Yanmar, one-shotting it. Then Gligar comes out and I use a double kick. Really, I should have gone for a Wing Attack, but I'm an idiot, and it aerial aces, doing major damage to us. Switch to Wing Attack this turn, but now it has knocked us low and I'm not quite sure whether we'll take it out here, so we're gonna switch out into Lucario. And it's a good thing we did because we get crit on the switch in. Luckily at this health, an Aura Sphere will deal with it though. Then the Poliwhirl comes out and that thing is faster and actually manages to break into us, doing major damage. But we can use a Trailblaze to do good damage and raise our speed. It's a good thing we did use that move because otherwise we'd have been slower, meaning we wouldn't have been faster to take it out on this turn. Next up is Cramorant, and to be honest, I don't really have a good option for it, so we're just going to switch into our Poliwrath, and he will get hit with a dive. We can then use an Icy Wind to lower the Cramorant's speed, as they're going to use the little fish and blast it into us, lowering our defense. We can then use a Liquidation, however, they'll retaliate with a Pluck and almost take us out. We'll switch into Taurus, who gets an Intimidate off, meaning the incoming Pluck doesn't do too much, and then he can get an Assurance off and finish the Cramorant. Next up, we have Dipplin, and we're going to use a double kick, but it doesn't quite do half. However, he just goes for a defense curl. We'll do it again, knocking it to about a quarter. This time, he'll use a Syrup Bomb against us, and even though our speed has fallen, we can still outspeed. I use an Assurance thinking that I was slower, but it doesn't matter because it knocks it into the reds and it wastes the turn going for defense curl. This means one more Assurance is all we need to do, and we have defeated Kieran. We're then introduced to the Loyal 3. However, they're not loyal to us, so they just go running. Then go a bit further, and in this cutscene, for some weird reason, Carmine is just in the floor. I don't really know what's going on here. People in floors aside, we have our little Ogerpon being bullied. So we're gonna take on Monkey Dory to get it to stop. We'll start off by getting hit with a Psybeam for half our health, as we can use an Earthquake, not quite taking it out. Knowing another one will finish me, I decide to switch into Breloom, but I should have stayed in as they just use Flatter. Luckily, I don't get hit in confusion, so a Mach Punch will finish it off at this health. We are close to the level cap though, so what we need to do is get back to Paldea and take on Atticus. However, fun little fact, if you have a Steel type Pokemon, his first Pokemon basically can't touch you, meaning you can set up for free on it. Once set up, you've got max attack and max defenses, and if you know a move like Earthquake, you are going to tear through his entire team without any worries. let's get back to Kitakami and try and take on this Monkey Dory. First turn, it tries to spite us, but we haven't done anything, meaning I can Earthquake, and this will do very little damage to Monkey Dory and take out Carmine's Morpeko, leading into her Mightyena. Monkey Dory will then spite me again, but this time I've decided to go for Carmine to raise my special attack and defense, as Mightyena hits with a bite for super effective damage. Monkey Dory will then Clear Smog into the Mightyena to drop all the stat changes on the field, but I'm Carmined in again, and he's biting again. Monkey Dory will then do another Clear Smog, so what we're going to do is we're going to Earthquake to get some decent damage on it, because we actually end up critting. Her Poltergeist is going to come out, but because of them spites, we actually have 0 Earthquake PP now, so I decide to switch out, and we're going to bring in Poliwrath. On the switch in, Psybeam will take the Poltergeist out, but her Swadloon will come out to replace it. However, Monkey Dory makes quick work of the Swadloon, making it a one-on-one, and our Earth Power ends up doing nothing. Then uses Spite against us, and that doesn't really matter because we switched to Liquidation, and we do actually get a defense drop here. And it keeps doing it until it is on a Sliver. Then we go for one last Liquidation, but we miss. It will then Psybeam against us, doing major damage, and its ability Toxic Chain activates, and it's actually going to end up poisoning us. But it's fine, we got an Icy Wing coming in, and that will take it to 0 health. Why did I take poison damage there? It's got no health left. Come on. Somehow it is still alive. Its health's not there. It's still alive. So we took the poison damage and we've lost a Pokemon because of it. No, Poliwrath is such a good one as well. Not had him long, but he was a beast of a teammate, and it's a shame to see him go. Breloom, get out here and finish it with a Mach Punch. Well, we've got to finish off what our teammates started, so let us get on to the next one of them, being Okie Doggy. Start out with Tauros using a Tail Whip as he low kicks into us, and Morpeko is going to use a Thunder Shock doing nothing. We're then going to Tail Whip again, getting rid of all its defensive boosts, as it almost takes us out with a low kick, and again another Thunder Shock comes through. Ogerpon is going to increase our attacks, but honestly, it doesn't matter because we can't stay in. On the switching, it turns out Okie Doggy has actually switched his attention to Morpeko by using a poison jab against it. Next turn, we can wing attack, and it's not doing an awful lot amount of damage. Then Poison Fangs into Morpeko, and then the poison damage is going to stack up and take it out here. But that's a good thing, as it leads into Mightyena with an Intimidate. We're going to wing attack again, doing okay damage, and it switched its attention to us. It will Poison Fang us, not doing much, but we will get poisoned. Luckily, Mightyena's takedown does decent damage. We'll knock it into the yellow, and it has changed its attention to the Mightyena, which once it actually takes it down, it takes recoil damage and almost goes down to poison. After this, we'll wing attack again, and Mightyena will finally be taken out. This will bring in Poltergeist, and we will get some health back thanks to its ability, but unfortunately, I don't think we can stay in here, so we're going to switch into Heracross. Heracross takes nothing from a Poison Fang, but unfortunately, the Poltergeist ends up missing its Stun Spore. Then hits a Brutal Swing for okay damage, and actually gets a Poison off, and we're going to Aerial Ace into it. This time, it will get Stun Spored, though. Aerial Ace one more time, knocking it into the red, and Poltergeist does nothing with an Astonish. However, it ends up flinching, so maybe it was a good thing. However, I'm badly poisoned. I don't want to risk any damage, so what we're going to do is we're going to switch into Lucario. Poltergeist will use another Astonish, but Okie Doggy will get full parried here. This means all we need to do is use one Earthquake, and we have finished this Blighter off. And it's 3 of them, so let's take on the final one, being Pheasantipity. Starts off with a Dazzling Gleam, doing major damage to both of us, and I'm going to Flash Cannon into it, not doing as much as I would like. And Morpeko will use a Leer, which doesn't help us right now. It uses another Dazzling Gleam, and it actually ends up critting us, doing major damage, but at least we have a Citrus Berry to heal, and we're going to be using Carmine here. With the Mightyena out, it's still going to use Dazzling Gleam, almost take it out, but now we tank it, and our Flash Cannon does that bit more. Mightyena will take it down, knocking it just above half. Ogerpon will give us a speed boost, but unfortunately the next turn was still too slow, meaning it will take Mightyena out, but at least we've knocked it to about a third. And with Mightyena gone, Poltergeist will come out and heal us, Dazzling Gleam will come into us again, and it will poison the Poltergeist, not that it matters, and will knock it into the red. Unfortunately, Stun Spore will miss here, though. Not wanting to risk a crit, we're actually going to switch out into Heracross. Serendipity wing attacks into Swadloon, not taking it out, and that's allowing us to go underground with Dig, and it'll get Trailblazed, not that it matters. Even though it does end up trying to target us with a wing attack next turn, our Dig will go off because we're underground and we'll finish it off. Was a close one, but we got through it. From here, we can finally start evolving our Pokemon, the first of which being Mankey into Primeape. And while grinding on Poké Path, I actually find a Pawmi. Didn't realize a fighting type spawned here, but at least it's another encounter for us. Once the grinding's done, we can finally get an Annihilate. We're not done there though. Let's get our starter going by evolving Quaxly into a Quaxwell and respectively into a Quaquaval. Then after that, we'll get into a Larry battle, but I'll be honest, it's not much of a battle. Now, we've got a Ghost type, so we can't be hit other than by Sucker Punch, meaning we can set up as much as we need. Larry also happens to be weak to the fighting type, so once we have set up, we're fully defensive and fully offensive, so we'll take him down with 3 Brick Breaks. Unfortunately though, we don't get any time to rest as Nemona wants to battle us. We start off with Annihilate, obviously, who will get bitten, but it doesn't do too much, and a Brick Break will wipe the Lycanroc out. Goomy will come out, but that will fall to the exact same fate. Then we have Pawmo, and we actually do the exact same thing, but it will survive, and that will allow it to get a Thunder Wave off on us. We then get hit with what I call the worst luck possible, as we actually get stuck in paralysis 3 times in a row, meaning we're at incredibly low health when the Pawmo goes down. This will end up leading us into Skeledirge, but at this point, we're nowhere near healthy enough to stay in, so we're going to switch into Quaquaval. She's going to Terrasilize, and her Torch Song does actually do some pretty amazing damage. From there, we're going to Aqua Step, which does a little under half, which really sucks, because the incoming Torch Song will end up knocking us incredibly low. We're actually in Torrent range here, but unfortunately, I equipped a Citrus Berry, so we heal. And yeah, there's literally nothing safe for me to switch into here, so we're actually going to have to use another Aqua Step, knocking Skeledirge low and letting our starter go down. This really sucks. It's literally the first time we got to use it, and we've already lost it. You did well, my little duck. I'm so sorry it came to this. Literally, all we needed to do was not give you that berry, and you'd have been fine. Our second Pokemon, Flamigo, will come out, and it will avenge you, though. Now, we need to replace it, so let us evolve Pawmi. Then we have a little bit of a run around with the Pawmo, but its tiny legs do make it quite slow, so we need to keep waiting for it at intervals. Once we've done this, we can evolve it into Pawmo, but Pawmo is literally just, it grew up and got an adult haircut. Ogerpon wants to come with us, but Kieran actually decides he wants him instead. But take it, it's not a fighting type. Fine, I guess we will battle you then. Pawmo can Ice Punch into the Shiftry, one-shotting it. After this, Gliscor will come out, but Ice Punch is 4 times effective, so it follows the exact same fate. Then we have Poliwrath come out, and we're gonna Spark, but we don't quite take it out, and it will get paralyzed, but it hits through, and Liquidation's doing big damage. At least this time, the Citrus Berry we have equipped isn't gonna negatively affect us. And now we'll Spark again, taking it out, leading into Yanmega, which we can do the exact same thing to. It just survives, Bug Buzzes, drops our special defense, but doesn't take us out. And it'll allow us to do 1 more attack and finish it off. This leads us into Dipplin, but this thing is actually incredibly bulky, so I don't want to risk it, even with a 4 times effective move, so we'll switch into Flamigo. Even misses the Syrup Bomb, which is nice. And our wing attack that's coming in does over half damage as it Dragon Breaths. From here, we can wing attack again, and this will end up taking it out and leading into his final Pokemon being Probopass. Knowing it's going for a rock move, we can switch safely into Lucario, who won't take much damage, can use a Flash Cannon, breaking the Sturdy, and then it will use an Earthquake, finishing this battle. Fine, I guess Ogerpon can come with us. Oh, we've got to battle it first? Right, well, let's literally one-shot all of its forms. Thankfully, we got the 3-arm thrust, otherwise it would have been a 2-shot on the stone one. But either way, we did. And even though the option is here to say don't catch it, it doesn't let you do that. So we're just going to have to catch it. We'll use a luxury ball, though, and keep it fancy. Not able to use it, though, because it doesn't have a fighting form. And with that, let's get on to the final battle of the DLC, being against Carmine. We'll start off with Lucario, who can Aura Sphere into the Mighty Enna, taking it out. Next up is her Ninetales, which is actually faster than us, meaning its Incinerate does decent damage as our Aura Sphere does about half. Not wanting to risk a crit, we're going to switch into Pawmot, but unfortunately it'll get Will-O-Wisp on the switching. And we have Natural Cure, so let's just switch out again. But then when we switch back into Pawmi, it'll get Will-O-Wisp yet again. So I say, let us switch into Tauros. Gets hit heavy with an extra sensory, but it's faster and can start using a dig. Obviously, this will finish Ninetales off. Then we have more Pico, but all we need to do is double kick and that thing will go down. This will lead us into Sinistcha, and Raging Bull doesn't affect it because I'm an idiot. Oh well, it'll hit us with the Mocha Gotcha, and it'll actually end up getting a burn. I'm not stopping in now, so let us switch into Flamigo, who will get hit with the Mocha Gotcha, but it doesn't do much. We can then wing attack, doing big damage as it scalds into us, but it didn't take us out, so one more wing attack will finish it off. Then lastly is Leavanny, but unfortunately this thing is 4 times weak to flying type moves, so we have won the battle. And with that, we've defeated the DLC, and we get to be introduced to the 3 NPCs that did absolutely nothing this entire run. Literally nothing. Why did we make these characters? Back in Paldea, though, we can get started with the next fight being against Rhyme and her ghost types. Both of her Pokemon are gonna start out by Shadow Sneaking into my Lucario, doing big damage. I can then Flash Cannon, breaking Mimikyu's disguise, and Heracross can use a Throat Chop, almost finishing Burnett. Because it was a super effective mood, Rhyme's Crowd will give us attack boosts, but Lucario will just get Shadow Sneaked in, knocking it to the red. But it's fine because we've got Citrus Berry. And then Mimikyu will slash into Heracross. Mimikyu will then go down to a Flash Cannon, and Burnett will go down to a Throat Chop. This leads us onto her last Pokemon, but because we've taken hers down, we get another attack boost. She's then gonna Terrestrialize Toxtricity, but that is a mistake on her part. We're gonna Flash Cannon into the Houndstone. Not quite finishing it off, but then we outspeed the Toxtricity with Heracross and a Throat Chop, not only taking it down, but if it had survived, it wouldn't have been able to use a move. Houndstone's not done though, because it Play Roughs into our Heracross, luckily not taking us out. And it does get a boost, but it's just to accuracy, meaning we're faster and can finish it off this next turn. From there, we're gonna have another battle against Nemona. However, this time it's gonna be a lot easier. The Lycanroc starts out and we start off with Lucario, and what we're gonna do is we're just gonna use a few Carmines to set up because it doesn't do much damage to us. It starts using Sand Attacks to try stop us, but we're gonna keep boosting. And once we're at about +4, we can use a Trailblaze to up our speed. Once there, we know we're going to be faster than all of her Pokemon, and we've raised our special attack to the point where we will literally annihilate all of them with Aura Spheres. That's payback for taking my starter, you horrible woman. Apparently, we then need to learn to accept our emotions, but just look how happy Heracross is. Heading into the next Titan, being Iron Treads. It knows Knockoff, which is neutral against us, and our Brick Break happens to be super effective, doing major damage. I think you see where this goes. We won it with ease. However, one thing we might not win with ease is going to be the next battle, Tulip, because her psychic types are super effective against us. We can start off by using Bulk Ups, which is going to raise our attack and defense. And along with some leftovers and the move Life Dew, we can stay quite healthy while they're attacking into us and we're setting up. We're then on the final turn of setup. Zen Headbutt comes into us and it crits. Luckily, it didn't take us out though. Phew, that was close. Use a few Life Dews just to get ourselves healthy, and then we can use a couple of Trailblazes to get our speed upped while taking it out. Luckily, because we've got our speed boost, we're maxed out, we have no more worries. We can now just Shadow Claw the rest of her Pokemon, and we have won this gym badge but Jesus Christ, was that close. 2 HP we survived on. And to be honest, there isn't much more to do, so let us get right on into that 8th gym battle. We're going to start off with Lucario, who thankfully has the Stab Steel type, so we can Flash Cannon into the Frostmoth, one-shotting it. Beartic thinks it's going to do something. I had an Air Balloon just in case it survived, but it can't, so we one-shot that also. So Titan looks bulky, but in front of our little dog, it is frail. Lastly, we have her Altaria, and it makes a mistake by terastallizing into the Ice type. However, it will just survive an Aura Sphere, but it doesn't matter because it misses its Hurricane. It was neutral though, so I wasn't scared of that, to be honest. Then from here, all we need to do is one more, and that is how we got the 8th gym badge. Now, we've got Ortega up next, so we might as well grab another encounter. Toxicroak seems like it'll be the perfect thing for this battle. Thankfully, it is at the level cap for this gym, so we can use it as well. Ortega's going to lead with Azumarill. However, we just want to start setting up some bulk ups as they're going to go for a bounce. Next turn, obviously, we can get it and we can get ourselves to +2, but it's still going to hit us fairly decently. We can then do this another round of times, but unfortunately, the bounce coming in now is going to paralyze us. Expecting a bounce, I go for another bulk up, but it ends up using Charm against us instead. Now, thinking it's switched and it's going to go for them, I'm now going to try and attack as it uses bounce. Well, we got paralyzed anyway, so it doesn't matter. Luckily, the bounce doesn't quite take us out, and then we can retaliate with a Poison Jab and finish Azumarill off. Wigglytuff will get off a Play Rough, but it's not enough because we are going to take it down here. Dash Button does manage to do the same, but it will follow the same fate. Then we have the Reverum come out. Now, this thing's going to come into us with a pretty hefty Magical Torque, but thanks to our bulk ups, it doesn't do too much, and our Poison Jab does almost take it out. But we're now in range of being taken out ourselves, so I don't really want to stay in here. Therefore, we'll switch into Lucario, who doesn't take too much damage. On the next turn, Reverum is going to use a Magical Torque. Jesus Christ, that almost took us out. Whoa. Lucario's a Steel type. I really wasn't expecting that neutral move to do so much. At least it didn't do anything though, so we can Flash Cannon and win the battle. But Jesus, that was close. Might as well not stop there. Let us get into the next member of Team Star, being Eri and her fighting types. However, she has a major weakness. If you stick a Ghost type in front of her, she'll just Sucker Punch you. That means you're free to set up all you want. And then because Annihilate is such a beefy boy, it can solo this entire battle. Even after getting crit by the other Annihilate, we survived on half health and still made it through. Nothing to it. We do have one last boss battle before the Elite Four though, so let us get into the Dondozo battle. We're going to lead with Pormo, and we can just use Spark into it, doing decent damage. Dondozo will order up into Greedent, and Greedent will take it down, almost knocking it to half HP. And then, to be honest, this just carries on for 3 turns. Dondozo doesn't want to touch us. We're faster than it. So after our 3rd Spark, it'll go down and get us into the Tatsugiri battle. We'll Spark that again, obviously not doing as much damage as we did to Dondozo because it's neutral. However, it then uses a Muddy Water, but it misses us and only hits Greedent. Not that the animation shows that, because it still shows our guy getting hit. Greedent then Tail Whips it, which is ideal for us because now our Spark is going to do more damage, and it paralyzes on the next turn. However, we will get hit with an Icy Wind here. Greedent takes it down and knocking it low. We're going to Spark again, and then it's going to use Muddy Water, doing awesome damage to us and taking down Greedent. However, it's on a Slither, and because it's paralyzed, we are faster than it, so we've taken down the Titan Tatsugiri. And with that, we have cured both Miraidon and Arven's dog. And it's gone again. Yeah. Annihilate absolutely destroys Arven because Greedent can't touch it. With that, I figure we might as well take on Clavel. And we're going to be using Annihilate here as well. we're going to start off by using a bulk up as they yawn into us. They then set up a reflect as we end up going for a drain punch. We also go to sleep this turn, but we equipped a chesto berry to cure it. Because it went for reflect and didn't attack us, we can actually use an encore this turn, and now it's stuck just spamming reflect. This will let us max out our bulk ups to +6, giving us both +6 attack and defense. And then on top of that, if you time it right, you can take it down after the reflect ends. After this, we have Poltergeist, but it is weak to the ghost, so one Rage Fist will take it down. Speaking of weak, next up is Abominous Snow, and that thing's weak to a Drain Punch, so we also one-shot it. Then his Houndoom is going to come out, and this thing actually hits us pretty heavily with a Fire Blast. Luckily, we survive and we get most of our health back from our Drain Punch. His Gyarados will then come out, but a Rage Fist will deal with that. Meowscarada is up last, and it tries its best by getting off a Shadow Claw, but it does pitiful damage. Therefore, we will use a Drain Punch and get ourselves to full health and make it like this battle never happened and get past Clavel. Next up, we're going to have the battle against Penny, but honestly, with Lucario here, her lead Umbreon basically can't touch it, so we can just set up a chunk of Carmines with some leftovers and we will be fine. We'll also use a Trailblaze in order to get our speed up, and that will essentially mean that none of her evolutions come out can stop the onslaught coming on. We will one-shot literally every single one of them, even saving a beautiful flash cannon for the Sylveon. And with that, we can make our way onto the Elite Four. First of which is going to be Rika, and we are going to lead with our Heracross, who can use a bulk up against the Whiscash. Unfortunately, it will go for a Future Sight here though. We'll then bulk up again, getting our attack and defense even further as they hit us for nothing with a Blizzard. We'll do the same, however, they have noticed that they're not doing much damage, so they switch to Earth Power. What's coming in now, though, is the Future Sight, which is grim because it does amazing damage. Thankfully, we have a Citrus Berry to heal ourselves somewhat. We can't risk it using another one of them, so what we're going to need to do here is we're actually going to need to use a Trailblaze and take it out and up our speed. Cameroops will then come out, though, and what we're going to do is we're actually going to end up using an Earthquake, and that will one-shot it because of its fire typing. Next up is Donphan, and this thing has Sturdy, so I go to use a Pin Missile, but unfortunately I miss, allowing it to attack us and get us some decent damage. Next turn, I'll go for a Pin Missile again, but this time we only hit twice, so we don't end up taking it out, so we might as well have gone for another move anyway. It's going to use another Stone Edge against us, which knocks us down to 50 health. However, we can finish it off with a Trailblaze here. Dugtrio's going to come out next, but double speed, we're faster, and Trailblaze is super effective, so it will go down. Now we're at Clodsire, though, and I really don't want to risk taking an attack from this thing, so what we're going to do is we're going to switch out into Annihilate. It's then going to Terastallize into pure ground typing and use a Liquidation, not doing too much damage to us. Because it's hit us, Rage Fist is 100 base power, so we will hit it pretty heavily with one of them. And it ends up wasting the turn by going for an Earthquake, which does next to nothing against us. Because we knocked it so low on the previous turn and it's up the power of it, we obviously finish it off here, and that is the first member of the Elite Four down. Next up, we're going to have Poppy and her Steel types. First turn, we're going to go for a Bulk Up, and it's going to make the mistake of using a Stealth Rock. This means we can Encore into it, and unfortunately, that is going to mean we have a free setup. Not that it was that necessary, as it wasn't going to do much damage anyway. With the free setup, we might as well get maxed out and then start attacking. Unfortunately for Poppy, none of her Pokemon can withstand more than one attack, with the exception of the Magnezone, and that's only because of its Sturdy ability. Even the Tinkaton will fall to us. And with that, we are into the next battle, being against Larry, where we're going to start off with Pawmot because it can instantly Ice Punch the Tropius, taking it out. It's almost as if he didn't learn though, because he sends out Altaria next. That thing's 4 times weak too. From here, he will send out his Staraptor, and that Intimidate is actually rough because it'll mean we don't take it out. So what we're going to do instead is we're going to Volt Switch, and we're going to bring in Lucario because I know it's going for a Brave Bird. And again, we've switched Lucario in for it almost to be taken out. On the plus side, the recoil damage will finish off the Staraptor, but Jesus! Next up is going to be Zoricorio, and we're just going to bring Pawmot back in because I'm expecting it to use an electric move. Unfortunately, it went for an Air Slash, which does more damage than I would hope. I can then Ice Punch, but unfortunately, it's not quite enough to take it down, so it will end up knocking us within range of being taken out again. However, we are faster than it, so obviously we're going to take it down this turn. Then we have Flamigo in. Thankfully, we have the speed advantage, and because we're not intimidated, we can use a Thunder Punch against it, and that will take it out. And with that, let's get into the final member of the Elite Four, being Hassel. We're starting out with Pawmo again because the Ice Punch is beautiful for taking out Noivern. Unfortunately, we can do the same against the Dragalge, but it will survive and it'll use a Sludge Bomb, knocking us low, but it's fine. Our Berry can heal us a bit. Obviously, outspeeding, we will take it down this turn, and then he decides to send out Flapple. Now, this is a bit of a mistake. It's 4 times weak to Ice, so an Ice Punch will take it out. However, one Pokemon we're not going to one-shot is Haxorus, so we're actually going to Volt Switch into it, doing a bit of chip damage and getting into Lucario. The Dragon Claw doesn't do too much, and we do get a little bit of health back thanks to the fact we've got leftovers. And then we can Dragon Pulse and finish off its remaining HP. Lastly is his Baxcalibur. Knowing this thing's gonna go for a Brick Break, we can safely switch into an Annihilate, and even after that Dragon Terastallization, we are not worried. From here, we can use an Ice Punch, which does okay damage, but nothing amazing. And then it's gonna Glaive Rush, knock us less than half, but it's fine because we've got... Oh, we put leftovers on instead of a berry. Oh, I was supposed to put a berry on so we could get another hit off. This was such a mistake. Well, we're gonna have to try carry on. We'll switch into Heracross, who also takes an awesome amount of damage. Oh, is anything gonna be able to do this? This mistake really is costly, so I now need to do a lot of damage to it, and there's only one Pokemon that can do so and outspeed, which is going to be Flamigo. As I switch into it, it's knocked to 12 health. And unfortunately for me, the move it needs to use is Brave Bird. It's the only move powerful enough, and it's the only Pokemon fast enough that we can switch into. We've lost our second Pokemon because of my mistake of not putting a berry on. This sucks. So sorry, Flamigo. You were supposed to replace our starter, but we let you down and we lost you. At least the last thing you did was win us the battle, though. Thank you so much. Unfortunately, we do not have time to mourn, so we're going to have to get into the Gita battle. Respatha is fast, so we're going to lead with Pawmot, who can outspeed and double shock, one-shotting it, but it'll now lose its electric typing. She goes into Go-Go, so we're actually going to use a Volt Switch, and we will switch into Annihilate, but it goes for a Play Rough, which is pretty brutal. I've got leftovers, so I get a bit of health back. And to be honest, I was expecting to go for a Bulk Up, so I decided to do the same myself. However, it decides to go for a Play Rough. We do this again, but it's just all out attacking us. Obviously, it's getting less damage each turn, which is good, but it's not the ideal scenario. Therefore, I decide on the next turn just to take it out with an Ice Punch. Next up is King Gambit, and because we've been hit a decent amount of times, I can actually go for a Rage Fist, but it doesn't quite take it out. Unfortunately for it, it misses its Zen Headbutt though. This means it'll go down without ever doing any damage to us. However, we would have tanked it anyway. The loser is up next though, and that thing is Psychic type, so it's weak to Ghost, so obviously we finish that off. Avalugg comes out, and it is physically bulky, but unfortunately we're just too strong, and we still one-shot that. And let's be honest, the last Pokemon is Glamora. Are you really surprised that we have almost swept her entire team with ease? And with that, we are now finally ready to take Nemona on in her champion form. We're going to use Annihilate, and unfortunately for Nemona, guess what? She does almost no damage to us with Drill Run. This means our Bulk Ups plus leftovers are very useful here. And yeah, it seems all of the rivals in this game, well, the final ones anyway, actually don't do too much. Nemona went from killing 2 of our Pokemon in this run to us absolutely annihilating her with 1 Pokemon and a beautiful setup. Now, if that's not retribution for both my Maku Hitter and my Quaquaval, I don't know what is. And with that, let us make our way into the final destination, being Area 0. Here, we are gonna have to take on AI Turo and his team of futuristic Pokemon. We're gonna lead with Pawmot, because Pawmot can use a dig straight away, making the Iron Moth miss, and because it's 4 times effective, on the next turn, we will hit it and take it out. To be honest, I was expecting Iron Bundle to come out next, but unfortunately, he's bringing in Iron Thorns, and I can't use dig because Earthquake will still affect us, so we'll switch out into Annihilate, who doesn't take too much damage. Annihilate can then hit off with an Earthquake, 4 times effective, it will take it down, and finally, the Bundle is drawn in. Bundle is going to use Snowscape, and we're going to use Drain Punch to get our health to the max. Then, next turn, it will Freeze Dry us, but we're just going to Drain Punch it again, and we take it out this turn. From here, it's going to lead out Iron Jugulus. Now, this thing's final type is quite scary, so we're actually going to switch out into Pawmot again, because we resist the Air Slash, so we should survive. Not that it matters, because it misses anyway. Now we'll use a Double Shock, which will guarantee the KO on this thing. After that, Iron Hands is going to be the next thing that comes out. Knowing either a fighting move or a normal move is coming my way, we can switch into Annihilate. It tries to use Fake Out, but obviously as a ghost type, it won't hit us. From there, we're gonna use an Earthquake, and it's just gonna end up using a Thunder Punch, doing very little damage compared to what we did to it. Top that with our leftovers, and we're actually gaining a good bit of health, so we'll stay healthy for this. We carry on like this for 2 more turns until we eventually take the Iron Hands down. This will lead us into his final Pokemon, being Iron Valiant, who will wipe the floor with us using a Spirit Break straight away. After this, what we're going to do is we're going to send out Pawmot, because it's the only Pokemon that outspeeds, and it can use a Double Shock and knock it very low. Unfortunately, though, a Spirit Break is coming Pawmot's way, and it will also fall. Knowing how bulky Heracross is, I'm going to bring that in, and we're going to try and... Oh my god, it ended up critting us. We would have survived that, but it had to crit, didn't it? That really sucks, man. Lucario would be a good choice here, but I forgot to give it Vacuum Wave, so we don't have priority, and it's faster, Brick Breaks, and takes us down. Jesus, we're losing all our team here. It's up to you, Breloom. We're putting it all on you. Use a Mach Punch, and it's enough, even though it's resisted by the Fairy type, for us to take it out. Breloom has saved our bacon. And that's how you beat Pokemon Violet using only fighting types. Thank you for your time, and goodbye.